Hi, I am Rahul Charles. Today we will discuss some topics in sustainable and translational engineering. This is the outline of this presentation: wasteland reclamation, resource degradation, carbon credits and carbon trading, carbon footprint. Wasteland reclamation. Reclamation of wasteland means reclaiming it or use it for productive purpose. It is the process of converting barren, sterile wasteland into something that is fertile and suitable for habitation and cultivation. In short, the lands that have been laid waste, which is due to extraction or industrial process, is converted to useful land. We know many lands in our country and foreign countries are converted as wasteland due to some extraction of materials or some industrial process, and by using some certain principles or methods we can convert this wasteland into useful land. So what are the ways or what are the methods that we can apply to convert this wasteland into useful lands? First one is afforestation. It means growing the forest over culturable wasteland. Then reforestation. It is the process by which growing the plants again over the lands where they were existing, which was destroyed due to fires, grazing or excessive cutting. And by using reforestation we can check waterlogging, floods, soil erosion and increase in the productivity of land. Providing surface cover. Protect the land surface from soil erosion is of leave crop residue on the land after harvesting. It is a simple method. Leave or give some crop residue on the land after harvesting the crop. Then mulching. Here also protect a cover of organic matter and plants like cotton stacks, tobacco stacks, etc. are used, which will reduce evaporation and help retaining soil moisture and reduce soil erosion. Changing ground topography on downhills. Some of the methods adopted here is strip farming, terracing, contour ploughing, etc. Then leaching. In salt affected land, the salinity can be minimized by leaching them with more water. Changing agricultural practice. Some of the agricultural practices like mixed cropping, crop rotation, cropping of plants are adopted to improve soil fertility. Ecological successions. This refers to the natural development or redevelopment of an ecosystem which has been reclaiming the minerally deficient soil of wasteland. Then resource degradation. It is the deterioration of environment through depletion of resources such as air, water and soil. That is the destruction of ecosystem and the extinction of wildlife. The main resources, as you know, it is water, land and air, and whenever these resources are degraded due to some human activities, we can say that it is a resource degradation. We know there are many reasons or many causes for water deterioration, land degradation and air pollution. Some of the reasons are mentioned here. We can add few more points: land clearances, agricultural depletion of soil nutrients, livestock including overgrazing and overdrafting, inappropriate irrigation and overdrafting, urban sprawl and commercial development, vehicle of driving. These are mainly the causes related to land degradation. And in the case of air pollution, we know emissions from factories, vehicles may cause air pollution, and these pollutions, which in turn causes health problems like lung cancer, cardiovascular diseases, asthma, like that. So we have to minimize this degradation of resources. International summits, conventions, and agreements. First of all, Global Environment Summit held at Stockholm in 1972. It put forward 26 principles for environment and development. Human rights, natural resources, wildlife, environmental education are some of the basic principles. This also led to the formation of United Nations Environment Programme, that is UNEP, for coordinating, monitoring and assisting the countries for solutions to the environmental problems. Then International Union for Conservation of Nature, IUCN, in 1948. Outcome is the idea of conservation of nature. Then third one, Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species, that is CITES, of Wild Fauna and Flora in 1973. Its outcome is that the wild animals and plants cannot be traded, which affect their survival. Then fourth one, Vienna Convention, that is 1985, and Montreal Protocol 1987. The theme under discussion in Vienna Convention was ozone depletion. As a product of Vienna Convention, the Montreal Protocol was developed. This is to control the use of ozone depleting substances like chlorofluorocarbons, that is CFCs, used mainly for refrigeration and air conditioning. Then Earth Summit 1992. It was held at Rio de Janeiro, Brazil in 1992. Poverty, war and the growing gap between industrialized and developing countries were the major topics of discussion. Then Convention on Biological Diversity, CBD, in 1992. The themes under consideration were benefit sharing, conservation of biodiversity and sustainable use of biodiversity. Then United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, UNFCCC. This is the main convention which led to the formation of Kyoto Protocol, that is COP3, Conference of Parties 3, led to the formation of Kyoto Protocol to control greenhouse gas emission. Then Agenda 21. It was held in the year 1992. Outcome is the sustainable development in the 21st century. Conference of Parties. The parties to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, that is UNFCCC, met annually in form of Conference of Parties, that is COP. It is the supreme body of the Climate Change Convention. The countries that have joined UNFCCC are referred to as parties of convention. The meetings held between each conference of parties are known as intersectional meetings. It held its first section in 1995. The primary task is to promote and review the implementation of the convention and any related legal instruments, such as Kyoto Protocol. The landmark COP is COP3, which resulted in Kyoto Protocol in 1997. Kyoto Protocol. Kyoto Protocol, the main feature is it sets binding targets for 37 industrialized countries and the European Community for reducing greenhouse gas emissions. And this amounts to an average of 5% against 1990 levels over the 5-year period, that is 2008 to 2012. By some particular mechanisms, a country can fulfill a part of their emission reductions in another country or buy emission allowances from another country. The main mechanisms are emissions trading, joint implementation, clean development mechanism. And each countries can be classified into 3 groups: Annex 1 countries, Annex 2 countries, non-Annex 1 countries. Annex 1 countries include industrialized countries that were the members of OECD, Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, plus countries with EIT, EIT means Economics in Transition, including Russian Federation, Baltic states, Eastern European states. So, Annex 1 countries, in short, Russian Federation, Baltic states, Eastern European states. And Annex 2 countries consists of OECD members of Annex 1 but not the EIT parties. That is to promote financial resources to enable developing countries to undertake emission reduction activities. And non-Annex 1 countries include most of the developing countries. That is, they are vulnerable to the adverse impacts of climate change. Now, carbon credit. Carbon credit is a generic term for any tradable certificate or permit representing the right to emit 1 ton of carbon dioxide or the equivalent amount of a different greenhouse gas. Carbon credits and carbon markets are a component of national and international attempts to mitigate the growth in concentration of greenhouse gases. 1 carbon credit is equal to 1 ton of carbon dioxide, or in some markets, carbon dioxide equivalent gases like methane, nitrous oxide, perfluoric acid, SF6, like that. Carbon trading is an application of an emission trading approach. Greenhouse emissions are capped and then markets are used to allocate the emissions among the group of regulated sources. So, first of all, different emission targets are set in Kyoto Protocol. For example, for United States, the emission target is -7%. Canada, Japan and Poland, it is -6%. For New Zealand and Russia, the emission target is 0%. For Norway, +1%. Australia, +8%. Depending upon the emission targets, they can sell or buy carbon equivalents using the 3 mechanisms: Annex 1, Annex 2 and Annex 3 countries can buy or sell carbon equivalents by the 3 mechanisms like joint implementation, clean development mechanisms, like that, emission trading, like that. Emissions trading. Emissions trading allow countries that have emission units to spare. that is emissions permitted to them but not used, to sell this excess capacity to the countries that are over their targets. That is, they can sell their emission units to the other countries. Emission trading is also known as carbon trading, since carbon dioxide is the principal greenhouse gas. Carbon is tracked and traded like any other commodity. So we can say it as a carbon market. And these countries have the option to delegate the right of emission trading to the companies or other organizations. Through trading, installations with low cost for reductions are stimulated to make reductions and sell their surplus of emissions allowances to organizations where reductions are more expensive. Both the selling and buying company wins on this flexibility that trade offers, with positive effects on economy, resource efficiency and climate. Joint implementation. Under Article 6 of Kyoto Protocol, an Annex 1 country that has made a commitment for reducing greenhouse gases can offer to or obtain from another Annex 1 country greenhouse gas emission reductions. Here, the transactions are between two Annex 1 countries. So that is why it is called joint implementation. And joint implementation allows a country with an emission reduction under Kyoto Protocol to earn emission reduction units from an emission reduction or emission removal project in another Annex 1 country, each equivalent to 1 ton of carbon dioxide. Here, joint implementation projects are an instrument for one industrial country to invest in another industrial country and in return obtain emission reductions. These reductions can be used to help fulfill their own reduction commitments at a lower cost than if they had to do reductions in their own country. Clean Development Mechanism, CDM. And Article 12 of the Kyoto Protocol defines Clean Development Mechanism, CDM. The purpose of Clean Development Mechanism is to contribute to sustainable development in developing countries. That is important. Developing countries help Annex 1 countries under the Kyoto Protocol to meet their target. That is, this mechanism allows a country with an emission reduction under the Kyoto Protocol to implement an emission reduction project in developing countries. So the difference between joint implementation and CDM project is that joint implementation projects are done between countries that both have commitments, but Clean Development Mechanism projects is between one country that has commitments and another country that does not have commitments. That is the main difference between CDM and JI. Transboundary problems. Transboundary problem is an environmental problem that is transboundary in scale. That is, the impact may be damage to the natural environment and damage to human welfare. For example, in the case of eutrophication in the Dnipro river basin, the nutrients may be emitted predominantly by one country in a region, but the effects felt in several countries. The cause are done by one country, but the effects are felt in several countries. Likewise, the loss of coastal habitats in Mediterranean Sea is a transboundary problem. Widely speaking, some of our problems like acid rain, global warming, etc. are also transboundary problems. Carbon footprint. Carbon footprint is a measure of the total amount of greenhouse gas emissions that is directly and indirectly caused by an activity over the full life cycle of a product. Generally, carbon footprint is expressed in terms of tons of carbon dioxide equivalents using the relevant 100-year global warming potential, that is GWP 100. In short, we can say that the amount of carbon dioxide released into the atmosphere as a result of activities of a particular individual, organization, or community. China has the highest footprint, that is 27% of the entire carbon dioxide emitted from the consumption of energy by all countries put together comes from China. Large carbon footprint deplete resources on large and small scales from a country's deforestation activities to one home's increased use of air conditioning. The more with the large carbon footprint use resources, the more greenhouse gases increase and it affects the climate change. Carbon footprint is the sum of two parts, primary footprint and secondary footprint. Primary footprint is a measure of the direct emission of greenhouse gases from the burning of fossil fuels, including domestic energy consumption and transportation. And secondary footprint is the measure of indirect greenhouse gas emission from the whole life cycle of products we use, those associated with their extraction of raw material, manufacture, consumer use, reuse, recycle, and final breakdown. It is a diagrammatic representation of carbon footprint. Then many factors are affecting carbon footprint. Population is one of the factor. Energy efficiency, energy structure, type of economic development, all these affects carbon footprint. Then some of the ways to reduce carbon footprint is to reduce, reuse and recycle. Another option is give importance for walking or riding bicycle if the destination is nearby. However, if the walking is not an option, then we can consider carpooling or public transportation option in an area. Then use energy efficient electronic gadgets or energy efficient electronic devices at homes. Use of renewable energy resources. All these may cause a reduction in carbon footprint. I have referred Introduction to Sustainable Engineering by Shibu Krishnan. Then another book, Introduction to Sustainable Engineering by R.L. Rag, and some website sources. Thank you.